everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from truly gorgeous Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist,
where we, a couple of atheists, try to make sense of religion and politics and current events in these here United States.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, the Bible meets AI animation.
Oh my God. You guys. Here's what I hate. I hate that our show is going to send a whole bunch of people to this, but you guys are going to want to watch this, and we've got lots to say about it.
I'll try to remember to put some links in the comments,
show notes,
so that you guys can find the ones that we're talking about. But first, we have other things that we need to talk about.
Yes,
some
sir.
News of the week, things that happened. Member of Congress, Mary Miller, Republican of Illinois, Dan. She's a peach. She's an absolute peach. You might remember her from her comments a while back quoting Adolf Hitler, right? Wasn't that her?
I don't know.
The whole thing, Hitler was right on one thing. Whoever has the youth has the future. Wasn't that her? I think that was her.
Let's just say it is.
Anyway.
It's fine.
Nobody
pays attention to us.
She likes to
anyway.
say smart things like that. Anyway, so that's sort of who we're talking about here. She this week has expressed outrage, Dan, about a prayer that happened on the House floor. This is a tradition.
I'm also outraged that a prayer happened on the House floor. I agree with her.
If only that was her point, Dan. She was upset. This is a tradition, though, that continues, and it shouldn't, where Congress will have like a prayer to open a session of Congress. And what happens is members of Congress, I guess, are given the opportunity to invite someone in. And so another representative, Jeff Van Drew, also a Republican, invited a fellow by the name of Gianni Surinder Singh to pray. And Mary Miller got on Twitter /X saying that this fellow should never have been allowed to lead a prayer, pointing out that he's Muslim and that Congress should uphold the truth, quote unquote, the truth that America was founded as a Christian nation. Right? Mm-hmm. And so this obviously is an offense. If this is a practice that happens, and it is, unfortunately, that may not be the right response.
It's a shitty take
to a Muslim praying on the floor of the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
And so here is Van Drew, the guy who invited Singh to come out and pray. He says, day after day, year after year, this is him speaking about Singh. He leads not just with words, but with example, with peace, with humility, with service to all. These are not just Sikh values. They are American values.
Please hold. There was a word in there. Hang on.
Maybe, are we talking about the same person?
And to be clear, when you said sick, you don't mean like physically
sick.
ill.
Well, these are Sikh values. No,
dude, bro, Sikh values.
These are not just Sikh values. They're American values, man. No. Mary Miller just saw a brown man praying and in a turban and I'm assuming that he had a turban on because he's Sikh. And just was like, well, Muslim.
Oh my God.
Is so uninformed about the world outside of her stupid little sphere, right? Her stupid little Christian world, that she doesn't know the difference between a Sikh and a Muslim. Right.
Do Muslims even ever wear turbans? I guess some of them do.
Some of them do, but they're not styled.
They're different.
The Sikh men where and women
Yeah.
where very specific. It's a very specific look, right? They wrap their hair because that's what they're doing. They don't cut their hair,
Right.
And so they're wrapping it all up in this in this cloth, and it's tied a very specific way. It has a very specific, easily identifiable look, right?
It's a good look.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Yeah, I have no problem with Sikh fashion at all.
Dude, bro, your fashion is sick.
So sick, man. So anyway, so frantic upon learning that she'd like made this horrible mistake that was going to derail the very awesome point that she was making. She edited her comment. And changed it to a criticism of this Sikh man praying on the floor of Congress. And then she just decided, somebody got to her and was like, you just need to take the whole thing down. This is just a bad look. Get rid of it.
You're just being dumb.
And so it's gone. And lots of people are calling for her to apologize, obviously, for these both, God, what is it? It's Islamophobic. It's
it's
racist,
all the things.
It's
just ignorant, wildly ignorant.
Ignorant Christian white lady. That's what it was. And so that happened.
Okay. Well, fun.
The state of our union is truly great.
Indeed. I'm gonna tell us a bit about a study that has just been released, and we're talking finally been released because people have been anticipating this study for a very long time.
Okay.
Like we're talking back to 2016 when the study began, and this is a study run by Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, and I think NYU is involved as well.
Okay.
And it is a study of clergy folk and psilocybin.
Oh.
That psilocybin, for those of you who don't know, is the very active ingredient in magic mushrooms. And
overactive, you might say.
What's that?
It's overly active.
It's very active. It is not that you and I would know anything about it.
Yeah. Agreed.
We definitely are not admitting to definitely having participated in this particular active ingredient ourselves. Anyway, this goes back to, so there were studies done before mushrooms were made illegal in the US and made a schedule whatever drug and blah blah blah. Back in the 60s, they were doing a bunch of research in psychedelics and whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a pretty famous, or perhaps infamous, experiment called the Good Friday experiment, which happened back in 1962, where they took 10 seminary students and gave them psilocybin, and then they gave 10 other students a placebo, and then they had them all listen to a sermon, people had strong effect. People had a strong reaction to that.
Yeah. Okay.
So now, finally, this study's been hampered by things like, a worldwide pandemic and the death of the lead author, et cetera, et cetera. But they finally released the results, and it's interesting. I don't know that it's surprising to me, because I've sort of tried to follow what's happening with psychedelics now that they're being, now that science is actually doing some experimentation with it again and stuff.
Sure.
But it is interesting. So 16 months after their doses, and they weren't given like heroic doses of psilocybin. They were given what I would say are quite moderate doses of psilocybin. But 16 months after, most of the participants, we're talking 83% of the participants, said that this experience is among their top 5 most psychologically insightful.
Yeah.
80% said it's among the most personally meaningful experiences of their lives.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
And then like around 80% also said that they strongly or extremely endorse having this experience as it increased their effectiveness in their religious vocation.
These are members of the clergy.
Members of the clergy.
Okay.
Everything from, we're talking Muslim, Jewish, Christian.
Okay.
Like they went for it.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, Dan.
Yeah.
That's
almost 80% said that it increased the sense of the sacred in their daily lives.
Interesting.
It's so I mean, obviously what you're primed for is going to affect how it affects you.
Sure.
So if you're primed for spirituality and whatever. But I will say this. I have also been seeing I've seen a lot of people who identify as atheists take psychedelics and then decide that they no longer like the atheist label because they believe, they know now that something spiritual, like they're not returning to Christian God or whatever, but we're all connected and there's some sort of overarching creative force that created all of us. Like,
right. Because there's no way that the chemicals in our brain released at a rate that is atypical,
right,
could possibly create an experience that you've never had before.
Well,
that could never happen.
I think most people are ready for that. But the thing is that like a lot of the experiences are I think for many people, whatever they're experiencing feels real in a way that they couldn't have imagined. Right. It feels true in a way that they couldn't have imagined.
It was a real experience. Right?
Yeah.
They did have a very real experience. Right.
Yeah.
It's just, it was a flood and rush of chemicals that caused it. Why does it?
But that doesn't mean. I mean, the truth is that doesn't mean it's not true, and that's the problem. Is that like because you can tell someone, yeah, you experienced this crazy chemical thing, and they'll be like, yes, but that just opened me. That just made me open so that I was able to see through the bullshit and see the truth of the matter.
Yeah, yeah, and then God reached out and
right
and touched my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like, I mean, I can completely relate with, the idea that this is like, the statistics about this being like one of their, deepest and most profound experiences. Right.
Yeah.
Like I get that. Right. Like that makes total sense to me. I've had, theoretically I've had amazing experiences.
Right.
But I don't know. I've always kept a rational view on it. Right.
Yeah.
Even though some of the moments were pretty fucking intense and could have been interpreted as being more literal or connected to the universe. Right. Somehow. Like it'd be easy to see that. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know why you're closing yourself off to the.
Well, it sounds like you're just going for it, Dan.
Does it sound like that?
Yeah, it sounds like you're all for it. You're all for this like spiritual.
I do think that it is interesting, and I look. Here's the thing: if people aren't going to fundamentalism, if they're going to things that I don't believe, but they're not trying to push some sort of shitty fundamentalist agenda on people, at this point I don't care. Like if it makes you happy and if it's meaningful to, if it provides meaning in your life or whatever, go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Believe the dumb thing. It's fine.
I mean, yes, I'm fine.
Don't push it on other people. Don't be like, man, I found the
right
truth.
To have that belief, right? I'm just saying that, like, yeah, I just don't. From my own experience, having had probably very similar experiences, right?
Right.
I don't think you have to lose sight of, like, the rational explanation of what just happened. Right.
Totally. I agree. I'm in that boat also. I like, for me, and I've done some pretty intense psychedelics.
Yeah.
Or I haven't. You make the call.
Yeah.
But and I've been told going into them, oh, you're gonna experience blah blah blah, and oh my God, it's the spirit molecule, and you're gonna you're gonna commune with the entities on the other side.
Right. But when Gaia appeared to you, right.
Right.
Like, you knew that was just a fabrication of your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that that lots of people have very similar experiences could maybe prove or could be evidence that something mystical and universal is happening. Or it could also show that, like, human beings are very similar to each other, and our brain chemistry does. There are certain standard events that our brain chemistry goes through when you mess with it this way.
And there's sort of an accepted, a bunch of commonly accepted explanations for those experiences that are easy to latch onto, right?
Yeah.
If you lose sight of the rational explanation of what just happened. Anyway, wow.
Frank wants to kill your amazing spiritual experience, everybody. Watch out for him. He's going to try and ruin everything.
You can go have whatever fucking experience you want. I just won't believe you when you tell me that you spoke to the Earth Mother.
Right.
And
yeah, I mean, I think the real problem is just that people turn into dicks about it. Like, they think that their experience proves something and we all need to accept. No, man, listen, you don't even understand.
Yeah.
I saw something you couldn't even contemplate.
Yeah.
Like, you're on a lower plane than I am now. Shut up.
The swirly patterns in my brain were so much better than your swirly patterns. All right, Dan. Over in Denmark, their prime minister, Mette Frederiksen. Mette, Mette.
Probably Mette
Frederiksen. Yeah, that makes sense. She has called on a reform. She's called for reform of the nation's religious full face veil ban.
Oh, okay.
Which they passed, I think back in 2018, specifically targeting burqas and niqabs, which are the burqas, the full bodysuit with just a slit, right, for the eyes.
Yeah, it's a ninja outfit, but in dress form.
Yeah, and you probably can't be as nimble. And the niqab, which is more sort of just the scarf across, like the nose and mouth, leaving the eyes. I believe I have those correct. And so they ban those in public spaces, which I agree with. I think that makes a lot of sense to me, that when you're in public, you need to be showing who you are. You should be identifiable, in my mind. We
except on Halloween, except
one night a week or of the year. And anyway, that's sort of how I feel about it. It does feel a little targeted. And
or a lot targeted,
and I have some trouble with that, but they're also making an effort to protect their nation against conservative religious influence, right? Which is an interesting stance for a government to take, but that's what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And nonetheless, There was a gap in this legislation. There was that she wants to fill in.
Oh, okay.
This is not a reform that's sort of like backing off on these.
She wants
because
that's how I was imagining that she's like, this is we are being way too intense about this. Let's back off.
Nope. She's seeing an opportunity to make it a little bit more intense. She wants to close the education sort of exemption gap thing. So right now, it is possible for women wearing hijabs and niqabs to attend higher education.
Okay.
In their little get-ups. And what was that? Was that dismissive or disrespectful?
That was totally respectful. 100%.
I heard it as I said it. I didn't really care. Anyway, so they're wanting to close that, and they're saying things like, you're welcome to have your religion, but when you're at school, you're there to be at school and take part in your education. Right.
Yeah, I feel like though, like I feel like everybody has to have their face showing as a sort of like, this is a safety issue. This is a public safety issue. I think that feels like it kind of falls apart when you're talking about a child.
Yeah. I mean, these are adult women at higher education.
Oh, at higher education.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think though that they also do mean in educational institutions across Denmark. So you're right. I think this includes children, teenagers, and an adult woman who might be attending university.
Right.
And anyway, so in 2022, a government-formed commission proposed to impose a ban on the wearing of hijabs in primary schools to ensure that women with minority backgrounds can enjoy the same rights and freedoms as other Danish women.
Yeah.
So this is kind of their stance, right? But people like Amnesty International are opposed to this, saying all women should be free to dress as they please and wear clothing that expresses their identity or beliefs. So it's a really interesting conflict, I guess, over this. These two ideas are in conflict, right? Yeah. That women should have agency to make these decisions, but then you have maybe a slightly paternalistic government that's wanting to protect women from the obvious influence that's being exerted upon them, right? To wear these dehumanizing, outfits. And
but it's only dehumanizing from, the trick is you're telling women, adult women, we know better than you do what dehumanizes you.
Yeah.
You don't get to choose what is or isn't dehumanizing for you. We're choosing that.
Right.
I think they've gone too far. I hate the burqas and the niqab. I hate the patriarchal bullshit behind that.
Yeah.
But as long as they are not mandated to wear them legally, as long as like that, I oppose also. But in a free and open society, if a woman decides to wear a burqa, you're like, well, whatever. Yeah. I'm kind of fine. I think we need to allow space for that. Well, she does want to go further, Dan. Yeah. She also wants to remove prayer rooms from educational institutions, saying that they've been set up at several universities and colleges. She's not seeking an outright ban, but she does want to have the government enter into a dialogue with schools and universities about finding a common solution, which, of course, means clarifying that prayer rooms do not belong there. Right. Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, we want to find a common solution, but, we're right, and you're going to need to come around. And the solution is you do our thing. You do my thing.
So
that's the solution.
What it feels like to me, though, is that when you start to take these steps, you're effectively excluding certain members of your society, right,
Yeah.
from full participation in education.
Yeah.
Right? Like if prayer time, if they're committed to prayer time, right, and it hits when they need to be on campus, they might choose just to stay home rather than going and getting an education.
Right.
Right.
And trust me,
isn't that
Denmark,
education more important?
Is this Denmark? Is that who?
Yeah, Denmark.
Trust me, Denmark, you want these women to be educated. You do not want these women to not do their education.
Yeah.
Because they're like
if there are
we
women,
need them to be educated.
Yeah. We need them. Yeah, totally. Right. Like here's the deal. It's like that Aesop fable, essentially. Do you remember the one with the sun and the wind? And they're like, who can get the guy to take his jacket off first, right? And the wind is like, I can just blow it right off, right? But the wind like warms up, right, and creates a warm day, and the guy just takes his coat off by himself, right?
The sun does, yeah.
The sun does, yeah. And it kind of feels like the same thing, right? Like if you allow this person to get an education, she might take the burqa off herself.
Right. Or her child will, or
the next generation.
Or she'll be more
decision.
supportive of
her child,
different viewpoints.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like it feels like you're getting more from just being sort of the warmer, kinder version than the aggressive, blowy version. So
stop being so blowy is what we say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Denmark, get your act together. I am going to take us to Moscow, but not Moscow in Russia, because that's boring. I'm going to take us to the border between Idaho and Washington State. Moscow, Idaho.
The nice Moscow.
Oh yeah, the really good one. Yikes. This is definitely like white supremacist country. This is way up north in Idaho. This is to give you guys a sense. Frank and I live in northern Utah. Those of you who don't live in the United States or don't live in the western United States may not have a sense of how big the states are over here. But I did a quick Google Map search, and this is Moscow, Idaho. Idaho is literally the next state north of us. It is one we share a major border with Idaho.
Yeah.
Moscow, Idaho is 10 hours drive
from where we are. Okay.
It is far. Anywho, so it's way up north, and it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of nothing. But it is there. People are flocking there, Frank, flocking. And a big reason that they're doing this is a bad reason. And that is that a fella by the name of Doug Wilson is a pastor there and is turning like he's become a right-wing darling in recent years. He's been on the Tucker Carlson show and stuff. He's an older, he's in his 70s now. He's 71 years old. Bearded dude, very much looks like, okay, if I say, Frank, imagine a 71-year-old white supremacist pastor. This is the dickhead you're going to come up with.
Okay. All right. Sounds fun.
Yeah. Do I know that he's a white supremacist? Actually, I have not done enough research to actually label him with that, but I'm just going to give it to him anyway.
Great.
Anyway, he has turned Moscow, Idaho, into a Mecca for people who don't want to have to deal with anyone who thinks even slightly differently than themselves. And it has become so popular. He became very big during the pandemic. He started putting all of his pastoring out onto the internet, and people started to take notice. And now he built a mega church there that could seat like 1,200 people, and already they've outgrown it. And here's the thing, and Moscow is little. It is a tiny little city. He is now building a campus, it's a school, I guess.
Okay.
He already has a school, but this is called Logos School. And it's on 30 acres in Moscow, and it could be a community college. This thing is huge.
Okay.
And he is prepping to I don't know. All I'm saying is that Moscow, Idaho is turning into Hateville, USA. So.
Yeah, nothing bad has ever come from a conservative religious group with a hateful message building a compound. Nothing bad has ever happened with those three things coming together. And a lot of people then coming in from the outside in order to join in the community. This sounds great. Yeah. This is a wonderful development. I bet the I bet the good people of Moscow are so excited about this.
Yeah. There are many people who live in Moscow who are very not excited about this, but here's the thing. I don't think they know what's coming. I think a lot of the residents of Moscow were already Christian and conservative. So I think they probably are like, yeah, this is probably fine. This is probably okay, but it's gonna turn not fine and not okay. But it does point out something that I think is a trend maybe I'm okay with, which is let's concentrate all of the real dickheads into one state. Let's give them Idaho.
Oh, poor Idaho.
Well, they can have Wyoming then. I don't know. We'll give them something. One of the maybe. Well, yeah, we're probably not going to get them into one of the Dakotas, are we? I don't know.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Idaho is beautiful,
and
I don't want to give it up, but okay.
Yeah,
we give it up, at least mostly, and then maybe we'll start draining a few of the other states, and they'll start the blue will start becoming more purple.
Yeah, who knows?
I'm on board with that.
Who knows, Dan? Oh golly. Golly. Well, here's another lovely place in the world, Dan.
Oh,
Texas. We love Texas.
Yeah.
Texas comes up so much on the show. It's pretty remarkable how much Texas comes up on the show.
We'll give them Texas too. We'll give you guys Texas and Idaho. You can have both of those. Actually, Texas is on the verge of getting a little more blue. So
we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, it's Pride time in America, right?
Yeah.
It's Pride Month.
Gay Pride
festivals are happening across the nation. Different, ours is happening this weekend here in Salt Lake, and there'll be more happening. There's plenty other ones happening this weekend across the country, and throughout the month there'll be more. It's a wonderful time of the year.
It's the most wonderful time. It's not the most wonderful. No. It is for some, maybe. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, there are people who fucking love Pride. I appreciate that Pride exists. That's my relationship with Pride. Anyway, so down there in Texas, in Waco, this little fellow by the name of Ronnie Holmes, who is a pastor at the Church of the Open Door. Oh, that's a cute name. He wants to go to Pride.
Oh dear. You're not invited, Ronnie.
to talk to people, right? To essentially proselytize to people, right? But we know he's a bit of a hate preacher.
Yeah.
Because back in this past October, he led a group of his believers, followers, I guess is a better word, to a festival celebrating the greater Waco LGBTQ plus community, right? And he's a known figure, right? He has a history of protesting against transgender rights. He's described same-sex attraction as twisted and perverse. So I mean that's who this guy is. So he's saying that he didn't go to that festival, which was the Out on the Brazos festival, which is in a public park in Waco. He said he didn't go to protest or cause a disturbance, but just
bullshit
to talk with people about their faith, right? And let's see. So he says that, well, let's see, that he was sort of, what happened? Anyway, I think the police sort of asked him to leave or something. Okay. And so he's been working with the city, talking to the local officials, trying to figure out how he can go to Pride this year to do the same thing, right? Yeah. He was told that the Waco Pride Network, this was at that event. He was told that their permit for the event required protesters to move to a 10-foot by 20-foot free speech zone, right? About 50 yards away from the main entrance to the event. Yeah, totally fair, right? This is the dickhead zone. This is a sort of a compromise that we've started doing in this country, right? To make these events safe and feel safe for the attendants, but to also not completely curb the right to free speech, right? Right. You can say your things, you just have to say them over there. Right. And 50 yards away really isn't that far away, right? It's not like
it isn't.
It's not like
it's too close, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to balance these things out and say people do have a right to, he's on public property, he has a right to free speech, right? Yeah. It's just creating a buffer, creating some distance. I wish he wasn't there. I wish he didn't feel this way, but we have to acknowledge the fact that we need to balance these things out, right?
Yes.
But you're right. 50 yards might be too close. And so anyway, so he tried to like talk to the city and be like, hey, how can I want to do this again. And I don't want to have to be in a free speech zone. Right. Yeah. I want to actually like be able to just go and talk to people. That's what I want to do is talk to them.
That's my only thing.
And so anyway, the First Liberty Institute, which is a one of these Christian conservative law firms that specialize in religion cases.
God bless them.
They're based out of Plano, Texas. Mm-hmm. And so they've sent a letter to the city, and they have demanded written assurance that the city would not again enforce its policy to, quote, banish religious speech. And that it would pursue legal action against the local government is that if they didn't respond to the letter in the next 2 weeks. They say there was in a separate statement, they said the city of Waco is targeting religious activity precisely because it is religious. That's wrong and it's illegal. Free speech was never intended to only be conducted in remote, isolated areas defined by those who choose to silence speech they don't like.
I feel like they are not thinking this through because what they're advocating for would mean that I get to go into their churches.
I know. That's the question that I would pose to them, right? Yeah. Is let's flip this around, right? Yeah. Like then I somebody with completely different religious views than you, right? With abhorrent views can go preach on the corner of your church or at the front door of your church, right?
Or inside your church. You can't
Yeah.
just tell us we can't come in.
Yeah. The only difference they might claim there is that the church is technically private property, whereas this is being held on public grounds. Maybe they have a point with that. But then likewise, let's say they rent a pavilion at the park to hold their, some sort of, day in the park, church picnic or whatnot. Then then in that scenario, that seems like equal footing to me. Right. And so we should be going and doing the same to them. Right. Every time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They want it. You can't infringe this free speech. You just can't.
Right. So,
because that would be terrible.
Yeah. So that's going on.
The ding dongs. Ugh.
Yeah, it sucks.
And what's amazing about all this is you want to go in there and harass people.
Yeah.
This is the right that you are demanding is that of harassment.
Here's the deal.
You're not like, oh, I just want to talk. Oh,
right.
I'm interested in a dialogue. No, that's nothing like what you want. You want to go and literally like abuse other humans.
Right. This is unrequested or unsolicited.
Yeah.
Dialogue. Right. Like you are, no matter how you try to frame this, you are approaching people who haven't asked to be approached in public. Right. And then you start just talking at them on this topic. Right.
Right.
That is specifically from a point of view that is hostile to the LGBTQIA community.
Yeah.
Right. And how is that not harassment? Right. Like it's
100%.
It's harassment of the community. It's obvious that that's what it is. And so this guy he needs to go fuck himself.
He needs to fuck somebody. I'm guessing, it's a 50-50 shot that after he's done harassing the gays on Pride, he fires up Grindr on his phone. You know what I mean? Like this is the kind of thing that we see all the time with these people.
It's quite possible. Quite possible.
All right. I'm gonna close out with some news that I find fascinating. I'm genuinely, there's, you and I grew up Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
We have many years between the two of us of Mormonism practice, and in all of that time, I don't think you or I ever heard word one about the fact that there is a bizarro Mormonism that is running parallel.
Yeah, I was
smaller,
aware of it.
But
yeah.
What's that?
Oh, I was aware of it, but
I was aware of it, but like it's not like anybody ever talked about it in church or anything.
Sure.
And when I did hear about it, I was like, What are those posers doing? Anyway, what I'm talking about is what's currently known as the Community of Christ.
Right.
When we were growing up, it was called the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the RLDS.
Yeah.
And they are literally like, this is the biggest. There are, you guys, there have been hundreds of Mormon splinter groups.
Possibly thousands.
But
there's a lot.
So many.
Yeah.
These little groups, anything that happened, especially in the early days, anything that happened, skiz. I'm going to take these people and I have the real truth.
Right.
But when the founder of the church, Joseph Smith, died, is when the biggest schism happened. And that was people who followed Joseph Smith's son, who was only 12 at the time.
Right.
And his first wife, Emma, and the other people who followed Brigham Young, and that went on to become sort of our church.
Yeah.
But this other church, the Reorganized Church, has been going strong this whole time. They're much smaller. They they currently have, I think, 250,000 followers, something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Worldwide. So yeah, I mean, that's not nothing.
Right.
but it's not huge.
Mm-mm.
But the thing that they've done that's so different is they have taken a very different path than the Mormon Church of our youth, including back in the 80s, they started ordaining women to their priesthood, which was a huge deal.
Yeah.
They also are fully LGBTQ inclusive.
Yeah.
Which is a huge deal. And now they've done a thing that I again, it's hard to see coming. It's hard to see it coming, but they have just anointed or whatever you do,
ordained
their first female prophet/president.
These people.
And her name is Stacey Cram. I'm just going to say it, or maybe it's Stacy, but it's spelled Stassi. So I'm going to call her Stacey Cram.
Okay. All right. When you say they've taken a different path, like it's like the two, they were on the same road and they just went different directions.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah,
it is so absolutely different from the mainstream Mormon church.
Yeah. But both believe in the Book of Mormon, both believe in, like, they
Joseph
came
Smith
from
was a prophet. He saw God. Yeah.
They came from exactly the same place and went in such different directions. And I tell you what, it's funny because every now and then I'll get into a thing with a Mormon and they'll be talking about, well, you should come back to the church. And one of the things that I've taken to saying is, if I went back to Mormonism, it wouldn't be yours.
Oh, yeah.
Because Community of Christ is so much better. I would never, ever join the Community of Christ.
Right. But if you had to.
But holy crap, it's so much better than the one that we grew up with.
Yeah.
And I love that. So yes, there is a prophet, seer, and revelator out there who is a lady person.
A woman.
That is astounding, and I love it.
That's amazing. Good for them. I just have to like them. I have to have really positive, even though, they're still Mormon and kind of weird.
Yeah.
I just am like, oh, those people.
Yeah. God
bless the Community of Christ.
Genuinely, it's so funny. I don't know. I think all of them would be better off perhaps if they just released the silly religion part.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to do it, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you would like to write into us and let us know something about anything we've talked about today, or call into us, you can reach out to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
Well, Frank, we had some folks write into us. Let's dive right into it.
Okay.
I think. Let's see. Sarah wrote in to say, hey guys, been here since episode 10, and you both have been instrumental in my leaving the LDS church.
Aha. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And congrats on passing 700. Wow, that's amazing. Sarah says, I'm in the midst of some deep grief from my partner passing a year ago, and it doesn't seem to be getting easier. Growing up, I was the child of the organist in an elderly ward, so I spent 2 Saturdays a month in funerals. I find myself missing the image of comfort in death that the church curated, despite realizing that their doctrine is bullshit. I know you guys have been through your own struggles with loss of people close to you. If you have any tips, please share. Wow. That's a lot. And I so sorry that you're going through that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here's the therapy is the first thing that I wish the first tip that I have, because sometimes we really do need help sort of navigating our emotional state and what our psychology is doing to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't pick these things. You know what I mean? Like our own brains sort of do whatever they're going to do, and it's not always clear how to navigate our own asshole brains.
Yeah.
But also, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm so sorry that it's not that it doesn't feel like it's dissipated, because they say, you know, we're all promised that time heals all wounds and stuff. It does. Like, eventually it doesn't heal all of the wounds. The scars remain. The loss remains forever. The loss is always there. But I think we can become much more at peace with the loss. So if that peace is not coming for you, maybe seek some help with finding peace with the loss.
Yeah.
You don't ever lose the loss. The loss is there.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with that. Like, yeah, I really don't have much to add, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jennifer wrote into us to say, I'm so grateful for you two. Thank you so much for everything you have done with your wonderful and super entertaining podcast. Thank you. That's sweet.
That is.
In your 700th episode, you reflected that when you first started the show, you had no idea what you were getting into, nor did you have any direct ties with other atheists.
Yeah.
We knew a bunch of other atheists, but not like the atheist community at large. Yeah.
Yeah.
Since I've been listening to y'all, I've learned so much about the fact that there are others of us out there, which has inspired me to be more vocal about my atheism with others. In fact,
wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
She says, in fact, I thought you two were in with the atheist community based on your knowledge and the amount of listeners who write in with their own contributions. Yeah, I mean, I think
now.
Yeah, we're much more tied in now to the community, and you know, I try to get to more atheist themed conferences, and you know, we know other podcasters in the world and that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it took us a while. We're not attending the meetings or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, what a neat thing that you're being more vocal about your atheism and normalizing it, and is such an important thing if you're safe to do so, because it provides visibility is kind of everything.
Yeah,
it's a marginalized group.
Absolutely. And it's also one of those things that you just don't even know the impact that you might be having. Right.
Yeah.
Like, just because you maybe haven't met, like, being more open, maybe you haven't had the reaction of like, oh, well, yeah, so am I. Right. But it doesn't matter. Like, if there could be somebody who's listening, or even that other person, they're just not feeling brave enough to talk, to sort of out themselves. Right.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's huge. It's a great example. I love it. I think it's awesome.
Absolutely.
It warms my heart that we could have that effect. So,
yeah, thanks so
help
much.
Somebody be a little more brave and get out there and do something that's incredibly important. So,
yeah. Well, friends, if I tend not to read too many of the congratulations, you're a good podcast emails that we get, just because I don't want to sound, it just feels a little weird.
Indulgent.
It feels a little indulgent.
Yeah.
If, however, you friends out there in the world do feel positively impacted by our message and what we do, you can be a part of making it continue, of keeping it going. And the way to do that is to go to thankgodimatheist.com/donate and pick how you want to do it. But like, just give us a little bit of cash. It doesn't have to be a lot.
Yeah.
But like, if you can be a monthly donor, or if you can become a patron over on Patreon.
Yeah.
We give you a little bit of stuff, and depending on what level you're at, you can get
Yeah.
you can get the Frank and Dan Diary, which is bonus content.
Yeah. And just speaking of Patreon, we're going to be making some changes over on Patreon. They're changing their model. They don't like to do the per episode thing anymore.
Yeah.
And so we're running up against a deadline to switch over to just monthly support. And so there'll be more information, especially directed directly to our supporters, current supporters, here in the next few weeks about that change.
And that's going to be fun because it's going to remind a bunch of people who weren't remembering that they were giving us money that they are, and then we're going to lose a bunch of people.
Great. All right. Anyway, so we're going to try to weather that storm. But just be aware of that. There's going to be some new thank yous that are going to be coming up on Patreon as well. That are going to be a lot of fun. We'll be announcing those also during the next couple weeks. And so, good stuff coming. You already told people how to get there, right? Go to our website.
Yeah, it's just thankgodimatheist.com/donate, and it'll help us out an awful lot.
Immensely. As always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up. Well, Frank.
Dan.
I don't know if you've heard of this AI business that's sweeping the nation.
It's some crazy shit.
It's the hottest thing. It's so hot right now, AI. But before it kills us all, it is currently being used for some very interesting ways. And one of the ways that it's being used is by this YouTube channel called AI Bible. Is that what it's called?
The AI Bible. Yeah.
The AI Bible.
And I will put a link in the show notes for their page, because we're going to describe some of these videos.
It's something.
But they're weird and wild.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Like, I have one on the screen right now, and I don't even know some of the stories that they're like portraying, but like giant monsters with tons of eyes and swirly smoke and angels coming down stairs and
the one that you sent me,
and
the one that got this ball rolling, is a video called "The Bible Cinematic Universe," official Bible movie trailer. Now, I don't know if they're making a Bible movie.
I hope they are.
But here's the thing about AI: you can make shit look epic.
Yeah.
And it does. This movie trailer looks insane. It is well done.
Yeah, I mean, as far as just like images, they're really compelling, right?
Yeah.
As far as like in sort of a fantasy sci-fi movie sort of way, right? Like
indistinguishable from your Games of Thrones and your various Lords of the Rings.
And like it is totally in that vein of just fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Which
and they got dragons and so, and the Bible has dragons in it. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, but so does Lord of the Rings and whatnot.
It is crazy. And here's the thing. You and I have gone back and forth with how we feel about it.
I feel great about it. I fucking love it. Because
I kind of do too.
Here's the thing, and we both were kind of making this point earlier about sort of how this fantastical portrayal, right, of biblical stories puts it into the realm of fantasy. Like it visually aligns now with fantasy rather than, yes, some pretty magical stories, but in my mind, grounded in humanity, right? When I was a believer, right?
Mm-hmm.
These were not, giant, like, I mean, this guy is probably 60 feet tall with angel wings, a sword that's got to be just as tall as him, right? Muscle bound, wearing like silver armor and whatnot, floating above the ground in front of, I don't know. Again, I don't know what biblical story this is representing, but like that image, if you just showed me that image, I'd be like, oh, that could be cover art for some, you know, fantasy novel or something, right?
Yeah.
And by pushing the Bible into that realm, I feel like it cheapens the Bible. It has to for believers. Does it not cheapen it? Does it not put it in a place where if this is what supposedly happened, and we know that fantasy stuff isn't real, right? Does at a certain point, don't you go, well, maybe the Bible wasn't real.
Maybe
right?
It's all bullshit.
Maybe it's all like, it's a fun thing to these are fun fantasy stories, which they're not really that fun, but like, like, doesn't it just
fun.
put it in? I just think that it like is problematic for the believers.
Yeah. I mean, one hopes, right? Like you hope that someone will look at this, that, you know, because I'm looking at, we both dove for the comments section.
Yeah.
When we saw this.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's almost exclusively people who are like, yes, this gave me the chills. Well, you know, wow, this is what the youth need. And yes, please God, show this to the children. Because there's going to be a moment, because just reading it, the fantastical elements of it, you know, the flood and the whatever, the dragon and stuff, it's easy to sort of gloss over those and get to the important parts, like the rules about being gay or whatever. But when you feel like you have to make it real on a screen with you know, with visuals and with epic music and whatever, it's really like, oh wait, that couldn't happen. That's not true.
Right.
Like, you're really pushing, and also to make it look like all of these movies that are very, very much, it's so easy to say that's not true. That's not real. Yeah. That's not the world that, like, our world doesn't include dragons and mystical creatures, and
just doesn't work that way. Yeah.
So yes, please show this to your children. You know what I mean? Like, like, absolutely, we are 100%. Can I pop some popcorn for you?
Yeah. Well, so I'm watching the video for the first time, haven't hit the comments yet, and I'm just like, who thinks this is cool? This is so fucking lame and dumb and like in the context of the Bible, right? I don't want to sound like I'm ripping on fantasy. Fantasy's not my thing, but cool images, right?
Yeah.
But as far as like the Bible, this doesn't align. This is really stupid, right? Like nobody's going to go for it. And then you get to the comments, and like you said, they're like, they love it, right? Epic trailer. The cinematic journey reawakens ancient legends with modern fire, this person says, right? Yeah. This is great. Can't wait. This is amazing. The only real cinematic universe. Lord Jesus with a little cross next to it. I love Jesus, says another one. Yeah. And so they're like totally fucking into it. This is like the giant spectacle and the big the giant music that matches, right? This big inspirational music that's just huge, right? And like it, I apparently that has a real effect on, I don't know if it's nice to call them the praise hands people, but like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like you go to a church in a warehouse and there's a band and you feel all the feels and you raise your hands and, you know, I mean, there's lasers and neon and whatnot. I don't know. But like, they love it. They love the big spectacle and they love the feels of it. They don't really care so much about the details. Right. And it got me thinking about, like, isn't this just Christianity writ large? Right. Like if you go back a few hundred years, they were building Gothic cathedrals, right, to effectively do the same thing. Get the illiterate masses, right, to come into these amazing structures where the sunlight coming through the stained glass windows has this like uplifting and unbelievable effect, right?
Right.
And your gaze is lifted up, there's almost like a floaty sensation, right? Like it's really truly like you feel lighter and inspired, right, in these spaces, and it's amazing, right? And I just started thinking about this need for Christianity to sell itself in giant ways because the base tenets of the religion are just kind of
our religion is dumb, but look at how big our building is.
Let's distract you from how lame the Bible really is by showing you dragons and
amazing
floating
imagery.
Giants and whatnot.
Yeah. And maybe you're pointing out a flaw in our logic, which is to say that, like, if that, you know, if the awe and majesty of cathedrals works, which it clearly has for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Maybe this will work too. Maybe we are giving way too much credit to people's logical brains because human beings are not logical creatures.
Yeah.
We are not reason creatures. We are emotion creatures that sometimes, if we're lucky, can do logic.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly it.
All right. Well, friends, if you would like to tell us your feelings about anything that we've said on the program, write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah. Hey, to support the show, go to thankgodimatheist.com/donate and give us some money, please.
This episode was edited by Roger Gowdy, and music was provided by the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston.
Yeah, hey, thanks to all y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank God I'm Atheist is a production of TGIA Media, LLC, copyright 2025, all rights reserved.